What's going on? What's going on? Steve Peterson with Infinity Investments. This is our very first YouTube live session. So we're gonna be learning as we go. Very excited because I started this YouTube channel, like I'm embarrassed to say, like over 10 years ago. And it took us a long time to get to 1,000 subs. So, when I started doing YouTube videos, I just was doing videos about real estate and throwing them up on YouTube. So as the years have gone on, I've become more and more adept to, what's the YouTube culture. And, what I tried to do a couple years ago, we tried to do a webinar on YouTube Live. And I interestingly was informed that, oh, you can't go live on YouTube until you hit 1,000 subs. I think that was 2 years ago. And since then, we've been pushing. And when that happened, we were around 400 to 500 subscribers. So this was really, it took a little while, y'all. It took a little while, but we got here. Blue Animation Studios says hi. Hey, what's up, man? That's Zachariah. How you doing? Good to see you. And what we're going to be talking about today is navigating through the distressed commercial real estate market. I'm not presenting anything to y'all today. This is more of a discussion. We've got three things to talk about. We're just going to be talking about the upcoming Fed stress test of the banks. Going to be talking about, what to do if you are a property owner, or if you're a broker and you have a client who is in some sort of a distress situation. What are some ways that you can work your way through it? And then also, finally, we'll be talking about opportunities. All right. So I really would love to get any feedback from you guys as we're going. We're really looking to, kind of step things up in the YouTube world. Again, like, I'm not necessarily a YouTuber. I'm a commercial real estate guy doing YouTube videos, but we want to step things up. We're working on our camera, our lighting, all those types of things. But what we really want to know from you guys is, what is the type of content that you want us to deliver on a regular basis so that you can stay informed of what's going on in the commercial real estate world? Now, we're going to go about 30 minutes. And at the end of 30 minutes, I've got a giveaway I got a couple of questions I'm going to ask. Whoever's able to answer these questions, we got a $100 Amazon gift card to give away. Now, there's a couple rules that I found out about the giveaway, and it has to be per YouTube rules and guidelines. You've got to be a subscriber. So we just got to verify that you're a subscriber, and whoever can answer these questions the fastest, I ask you three questions. Whoever can get 2 out of 3 got $100 Amazon gift card for you. Also, got a little something special for our 1,000th subscriber, who was Blue Animation Studios. I see you here, Zachariah. We got something for you as well, because you were the 1,000th sub, and we really appreciate that. So I'm gonna get into it. And you guys, this is, I usually, when I do our presentation, I say, hold your questions to the end. On this live session, throw me what you got when it pops up in your mind, okay? And I will address it. We're not gonna have a lot of people on this. It'll probably be, a short amount of people, but I want to get to what you're saying. So, I want to talk about the upcoming Fed stress tests of the 19 largest banks. A couple weeks ago, I use a prospecting system called Prospect Now, by the way. If you're in the commercial real estate business and you make calls and you cold call, you dial for dollars, I highly recommend Prospect Now. I've been on that system for 10, going on 11 years. It's really been good for me. And when you log into the system, they have a series of commercial real estate articles. And in those articles, there's what's going on in the marketplace, right? And I read this article a couple weeks ago talking about the Federal Reserve came out with a statement about the current economy, and based on this, they're going to stress test the 19 largest banks. And look, I'm not a regulator or somebody in that space. Here's what I understand about the stress test, because this happened back in the Great Recession in a major way on an ongoing basis, especially after the bailout money was given to the banks. What they were saying, or what they did in these stress tests, is they want to look at the financials and they want to tear apart the financials of the banks. So what they want to see is, what are their performing loans? What are their non-performing loans? What what risk do they have to loss, essentially? Because particularly for banks, because you have to understand, banks are regulated differently than lenders who are not banking institutions. So in other words, a bank has to keep a certain amount of money on reserve when they take a property back in foreclosure, right? So when they take a property back in foreclosure, they got to have capital in reserves. A lot of times people think the banks want your property. In many instances, the bank does not want your property. They just want to get you paid, and they're using your property as collateral. So when they go through these stress tests, the regulators are going to really evaluate, I mean, with a fine, extra fine tooth comb, what the financials of that bank looks like, right? After we went through what we went through in the Great Recession, losing all those banks, they are really trying to be proactive in this situation. So now that we have a little bit of, last year, 2020, unprecedented pandemic, a lot of businesses shut down, a lot of businesses were at least temporarily shut down. Here in the Bay Area, what a lot of businesses did is just, unfortunately, they just walked on their leases. And the landlords not really able to go after them. Even if they did go after them, it's not really going to get them anywhere. So people in a major way was walking away from their commercial leases, maybe like never before seen, right? Created a lot of vacancy, created, a lot of challenges within existing loans. So now you're starting to see in the marketplace, I checked this morning, there were 17 in Oakland, there were 17 commercial properties in default. Not a lot, but it's a lot more than this time last year. This time last year, because I tracked defaults on a monthly basis, I think that there was 6 or 7 commercial properties in default, right? Now, what I'm seeing right now on the market is primarily loans that are private money loans are the ones that are in default. The banks haven't really started to file default on their customers, and they really don't want to, right? However, this is the thing I wanted to talk about with the stress test. The regulators are going to come in and see that, hey, this loan may not be filed as default, but you're not receiving income on this loan. What's going on, right? Banks are going to come and say pandemic, so on and so forth. But something has got to give. Something got to give, right? The bank's got to be able to show income coming in on these properties. Not just it's a year going by, and we're working with the owners on this. All right, even though landlords are not really able to go and put the pressure on tenants if they're not paying, and in commercial, many tenants have just walked from the building. Okay, so this is going to be interesting to see how this all navigate, how the regulators navigate through this, and what decisions come out of it. I think that a lot of banks are going to have to end up saying, "Hey, look, we gave it our best shot. We're going to have to, we're trying to work with you, Mr. and Mrs. Borrower. We got to do what we got to do at this point because we got to be in compliance." And there was certainly a period of forbearance and certainly a period of overall grace and mercy of what I would say from banks in general as we went through this pandemic. And I think that was good because you can't ask the economy to stay at home and then not do your business and not go to work and then just take all the businesses and properties from them. There had to be some sort of grace period. I think we're coming upon the end of that grace period, maybe. I don't know. But as things open up, as banks got to get to the point where they got to start. And now, listen, we're talking commercial here. Residential is something totally different, right? Because that's consumers. Commercial real estate. So in the commercial real estate space, everyone is considered, people are considered to be, experts, even if they're not. They're considered to be, the big boys and girls of the industry. So they don't get the same level of protections, if you will, as the consumers do. So it's a little bit different. All right. And at some point, the bank's going to have to either, work something out, do a long-term forbearance plan with the borrower, or they're going to have to file for default. Now, within that, and I'll come back to this point when we talk about opportunities, but within that point, I believe is going to be where you're going to see a lot of lenders start selling off their paper. And what that means is they're selling off their promissory notes at discounts to other lenders or other investors who are coming in who, wouldn't mind foreclosing and taking on that property. You see, so a bank, when they foreclose, we talked about the regulations and the money they have to set aside. Let's just say they sell that loan to an investment fund. Well, the investment fund is not a bank, so they don't have the same regulations. They may be looking to take over the property, whereas the bank is not necessarily. That's the thing you got to all understand. When you're navigating through a situation, who owns the paper, and because they're motivated differently, right? And I think a lot of the banks are going to do things like, let's sell off our paper, or let's try to do short sales, okay? Because they don't necessarily want to take in mass a bunch of commercial properties that are going to take time to sell. And they're also going to have to be managed. And banks hate to be in a property management business, all right? So I think that as a result of these stress tests that are coming in the next quarter or so, and, beyond and within this year, and I think it starts with the largest banks, right? And it'll probably trickle down to the rest of the banks, that we're going to start seeing more movement in the distressed market in commercial real estate. That's why. So for you guys who don't know me, I started my company, Infinity Investments, in November 2009, smack dab in the middle of the Great Recession. So I kind of came up working distressed deals. I didn't do a lot of REO work for the banks. I did some, not a lot. I did more work in working for investors and hunting down deals. Okay. And so from the experience that I learned and I saw at the beginning of the Great Recession to kind of the end of it, when things really start wrapping up in 12, 13, once 2014 came along, the market started rolling. But what I saw as a transition, if you will, during that period is, at first the banks were just, we're taking property, we're going after you, and then we had this glut, and what they called it was, these toxic assets. Banks got all these toxic assets, right? And so with the toxic assets, what was said, and what that meant is that they got so many loans that are in default, so many properties that are taken back, they didn't know where the bottom was, right? Meaning that value's going to keep dropping, they're going to keep dropping, they're going to keep dropping. So, and it was a big part of that was because at the beginning of it, they just went after everybody without really any foresight of, how to handle all this stuff. As time went on, we saw more and more short sales, commercial short sales, where the lenders are saying, look, we're in default on this. We really don't want to take this thing back. Let's just sell it short. And for those you don't know, short sale, meaning that the property is being sold for less than, that's what we call a short sale, being sold less than the loan amount. The loan amount's $1 million, property is getting sold for 800 grand, short sale. The lender has to agree to take a loss in order for the property to trade prior to the lender foreclosing. And so for lenders out there, I think they would prefer to either sell it out, or they would prefer to sell it short versus taking it back in REO. And as the market went on in the Great Recession, that's a lot of what I saw. A lot of what I saw was banks selling short, banks selling notes. And, that was, really picked up at the end of the Great Recession. So I think as a result of this stress test, we'll see an uptick in commercial short sales first before we see an uptick in commercial REOs. I think we'll see a lot of banks just selling their paper. I think we'll see the banks selling their paper to investment groups. And we'll come back. The third point I want to talk to you guys about is opportunities. So I just wanted to set the stage on that because this is real, y'all. This is happening now. And I think in a market like the Bay Area, where you have these two wildly different worlds of residential and commercial real estate, where homes somehow are still going up in value, well, that has a lot to do with the monetary policy, the 2% interest rates. But commercial real estate has been greatly affected, maybe more here than many other parts of the world. I would say maybe here, LA, New York, where the shutdown was extreme. So that the shutdown, meaning commercial real estate properties were not able to operate, right? So that was extreme. So we are here now. I've been saying all last year, I think there's going to be a grace period of time in which, look, nobody's stressing you about paying your mortgage, your rent, all of this stuff, people working out there, but at some point in time, that is going to subside, and we got to going to get back to regular business. Well, I think the banks are saying, all right, it's about that time. We're going to step in and start doing these stress tests so we can really figure out what's going on in the marketplace. However, I do think that, and I hope that the banks, the lenders, the powers that be are going to be, taking each step of what they're doing with the overall understanding that this was something unprecedented, man. There was plenty of great businesses that were up and rolling. I just think about a company like 24 Hour Fitness, where I used to work out at, man, and they had a great business model. And I know they're in BK now. I don't know where they're at exactly in that. I know they're fighting, scrapping hard to stay alive, and their California properties are not the same as maybe some properties out of state, but their business was affected, man. There's a lot of businesses that are just not there anymore, and the commercial property owners are stuck holding back. All right, now that being said, I want to just talk about what's going on in the marketplace, banks. Let's talk about what to do if you are in default. And a lot of times, as I'm going to be giving content, as I'm going to be doing deals and business in this space, because that's what I do, I'm never going to forget about people who are in that distress, right? Even if we're selling your property, you come to us, selling property, or you come to us, we have an investor who wants to buy a property, or we are investors buying property. I don't like to be an opportunist at all. I don't advise that. I don't think that's cool. I think there's a way to make money and hold your integrity, right? And a lot of times when I talk to people, and I'm dealing with that right now on a few situations, people who are in these tough spots, I like to try to give them some advice on how to navigate through it, right? And I think the number one thing, first of all, is do not bury your head in the sand. All right. When you get in this spot, it is going to get tough, and it's going to get, I'm going to say, it's going to get stressful, period. No matter how relaxed of a person, you're doing yoga every day, namaste, you got some stress, right? And you got the bank breathing down your neck, especially if you got hard money, because hard money is not regulated like the lender, like banks. They are lenders who a lot of times wouldn't mind taking your property back, right? So if they're breathing down your neck, you're going to have some stress. And a lot of times the first reaction to stress is, let me just, forget about it. Let me bury my head in the sand and not think about it. Let me pretend it's not there. Just do it like that. And look, that's natural, but it's not productive. Okay. You're a fighter. You got to be a fighter. And even if, like I said, you're the most cool, calm, relaxed person, when you get into this state, now you got to do a little bit of battle against the stress that's going to come, because that stress is going to make you do some funny things. All right. So you got to keep a cool head in this situation. All right. And don't bury your head in the sand. What that means is, okay, get on the phone, get on the horn with your lender. Okay. Be in communication with them. All right. This may or may not help you out, but what it does for you is it minimizes the stress level. Okay. If you think, okay, I'll bury my head in the sand, I'm ignoring the letters they're sending me, I'm ignoring their calls, there might be a temporary relief of stress. Oh, I don't have to take this call. But that stress ain't going nowhere. It's in your head, man. And it'll pop up at weird times. You're in the middle of the night trying to sleep, it'll pop up, or you're in the middle of doing something else totally unrelated, it'll pop up and it'll mess with your mind. Versus if you just, take a call head on, you proactively call your lender, hey, look, guys, I got 10, I got 10 units, 5 of my tenants bailed on me. I got of the 5 tenants, 3 of them are paying, 2 need some help. I just need you guys to work with me. Okay, I'm going to propose some sort of workout plan. And here's my thought: propose a workout plan. The bank, they may come back to you with the proposal, but don't wait on their proposal. Put something on the table to them. Commercial lenders can be a little bit more, I'm going to say flexible, but a little bit more creative for sure than a lot of the residential lenders are. Okay, residential lenders dealing with so many loans, it's just your other number. And commercial, they're watching it a little bit closer. And typically, these folks in these spaces are a little bit more creative, and you might be able to work something out. Obviously, we all were affected by the pandemic. So I think that if you could reason with them and then show the bank, if you're in communication with them, how you rectify the situation. Not just, I'm a great guy, I had a tough time, please, please, please. No, it's like, yeah, I am a great guy. The world had a tough time. Now here's how we're gonna get done. Okay, I got these 4 tenants. I'm gonna work with them. We're gonna get the rents. They're essential tenants. Okay, we're gonna do some marketing things to get some more tenants in there. Maybe we give them a few months rent free. We're gonna do this. Okay, you're coming up with some proactive solutions that you present to them, because then what they could say is that, okay, well, maybe this could work. Maybe that don't ain't gonna work. Maybe this could work. All right. And they start thinking, okay, well, at least we have a responsible borrower. We have someone that's just not gonna put their head in the sand and pretend like this didn't happen. You know, it doesn't mean that necessarily the bank's just gonna say, hey, we accept it and put it on the table. Okay, because you might be in a real tough spot. But by communicating with your lender directly, you're going to give yourself a better chance. And I bet you at the very least, you are going to buy time if you need to sell your property, if you need to bring on some capital to pay them off, if you need to bring maybe an equity partner come in, pay the debt off, pay the loan down, whatever. You can certainly buy time by being in communication. Okay. By bearing your head in the sand, you're actually adding more stress to your situation, and you are limiting your time. You're not going to expand that time frame. So keep that with a grain of salt if you're in that type of situation. Now, what I would also say is I'm sure everyone in that situation wants to keep their property. If they're going to sell it, they want top dollar, all of these types of things. But then what I would also say is, embrace the brutal truth. Look at the real truth that is in front of you, and the reality. Because a lot of times you're in that situation, again, the stress of you can't think straight. And you're thinking, hey, this property maybe is worth 1.3 million. I can sell it for 1.3 million, and I'm gonna, where your loan might be $800,000, and okay, you thinking you got some equity, but don't lose out. You might actually have property might actually sell between a million one, where you can walk with some money. Maybe it's not what you thought, but it's better than losing all out. And so when you're in this spot, try to make some decisions. You're gonna have to make some tough decisions, maybe, but make a wise move. And understand you may not be able to get the most if you need to sell. And if you do need to bring some more capital on, that could potentially make a bad situation worse. But if you do it right, it can solve your situation. But you're gonna have to give something up. When you bring an equity partner up, you got to give up some ownership. If you bring more debt on, it's more debt, and that might save you in the short term. It might not be your long-term solution. So you really want to sit down and make the tough decisions. Face the brutal truth. There's a book, From Good to Great, by Jim Collins. Great book. He examines what companies did to go from good, being just good, to great, outstanding companies, top of their industry. And a big part of what he talks about is that the company got to look at the brutal truth. What is the real truth? And a lot of us, that's hard to do, man. I mean, I know it's hard for me to look in a business. What are my biggest problems? What am I doing wrong? Right? That's hard to do. And when you're in a distressed situation, maybe before this pandemic, your property's worth $10 million. And now maybe it's worth $8 million. I was on a call yesterday with CCIM, and there was a property presented, apartment building, and the broker said, look, it was appraised 45 million, before COVID, and now they got significant vacancy. They're thinking it's 37 million, right? So in that instance, hey, property owners do probably been running the property the same way they've been running it for years, but the marketplace, right? Throw them a bunch of vacancy in an area where we haven't seen vacancies in 10, 12 years. The property gets, when someone moves out, somebody moves right back in. So it is understandable that this pandemic rocked us in a lot of different ways. So just take that with a grain of salt if you are in that situation. Now, agents and brokers, if you got clients in that situation, this is what I'm saying. Don't just be an opportunist. Investors, when you're going after these type of properties, don't be an opportunist. You can make money here. You can make a lot. You can build generational wealth with a couple of deals. You buy them right, but do them in a responsible way, right? And lead people through. If you're an agent or broker now, you represent that person. So you got to be a fiduciary. You have this fiduciary responsibility to look at every possible angle of what the best possible solution is for your client. And if you're an investor, really, if you spend time on focusing on how to solve the problem, how to solve whatever that problem is in front of you, man, becoming a positive problem solver is going to make you a lot of money. And you don't have to cutthroat the next person. Now, I guarantee you there's going to be, and we all know cutthroat people in the business. Say, I don't need to do it. I'm out for me. Well, yeah, we get that. I'm not a proponent of that. I'm a proponent of, hey, let's solve a problem in a responsible way. And if it ends up being you buy the property out of foreclosure, bankruptcy, you bought the note, you finish off the foreclosure, whatever, do it in a responsible way. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. You know, whether you're an agent, broker, investor, developer, other lenders, you know, you reap what you sow, man. And if you can do that in this time, you will make money, but you'll also build better relationships. There's plenty of people out there who screw people over and make a ton of money, but that reputation they built at some point is going to cost them. And maybe they'll still make all that money. It's going to cost them at some point, though. Okay, the relationships you build by doing good business, advising people the right way, and solving a seller's solution as a buyer and buying. It has to make sense for you too. I mean, you don't buy anything that doesn't make sense for you, but if you can solve some problems for the seller and you've built a relationship, and that will end up working in your favor. If not, just in the sense of it building your reputation in the marketplace. That is worth a lot. Okay. A whole lot. So my 2 cents on, if you're in default, what do you do as an owner, and then as a professional leading people through the water, and as an investor going after these type of properties, just don't screw people over. All right. Now, speaking of which, opportunities. Hey man, look, I'm tell you like this. I started my company November 2009. I had a lot of cash investors that I was working with. And so it was actually a good time. It was tough, very tough, but guys and ladies with cash, man, if you had cash in 2009, access to capital, or, you knew how to structure deals, it was the time it was time to make some money. And there was a lot of wealth created then. I don't think we're going to see like prices drop like that. I really don't. And a big part of it, I think, in this run-up we've had over the last few years, banks have really underwritten those loans. People have had to put a lot of money down on their down payments. So people are not just going to be walking away from properties. In the old market, you could have got a commercial loan on apartment buildings, 80-90% loan of value. Not, from a regular lender, from all kind of lenders are doing stuff like that. Allowing second loans up to 90% combined on the value, and just underwriting based on pro forma, not on actuals. So that was kind of like a recipe for disaster. So I think whatever our loss is this time around, I don't think it'll be as bad as the last one. At the same time, I know some people saying, "Oh, it could be worse," but I don't think so. Right? I think there's a lot of people going to be fighting for their property versus walking away, and that's why I don't think the prices are going to free fall. At the same time, there will be some great properties. There will be some great deals out there. And I think it goes back to being a positive problem solver. People who can solve problems, people who know how to structure creative financing, people who know how to take over properties, wrap around mortgages, subject to, those types of things, master lease options, land contracts. Because, sellers are going to want to try to keep any equity that they have, and they'll be a little bit creative and flexible. I also think, like I mentioned before, there will be a lot of commercial short sales and a lot of note transactions. Now, if you haven't bought a note before on a distressed property, it's a great way to get, a really, really good deal. What you do is you basically buy the promissory note at a discount, of course, and you take over the lender's position. There's a lot of risk when you do something like this, because the borrower can file bankruptcy and fight you and do all this. And then you have to also understand, like I talked about not being an opportunist, but then we're talking about buying a note. So a couple of deals I've done that were like this. When we bought the notes, we reached out to the owners of the property in efforts to work out a deal with them, because we bought the note at such a price that if we could have worked with the owners to get them back making regular payments, we would have been making outrageous money. The bank's interest rate was like 5 or 6%, whatever it is in those days. But we bought the loans at cheap enough prices that if they paying on their original face value 5 or 6%, it would have been double digits to us and been a really nice cash flow. And so that was our way of saying, hey, how can we reach out? How can we work a situation with the owners? But the owners at that point had just abandoned the properties, right? And so if someone abandons them and you reach out to them, you try to work a deal, and they're not falling back, and they're not falling up, and they're not doing this, what do you do? Another situation we in a group I was part of did something like that, and the property guys they were trying to short sell the property. We were as lender, we were on board with doing the short sale. It just lagged on and lagged on and lagged on and lagged on, and then the borrowers just said, you know what, I'm giving up. But it was a great way to make us, and especially consider this: if you buy a note at a discount, you can get to the property, you own it, or if you work something out with the borrower, you can make a crazy amount of income from a percentage standpoint. So that could be a great way to do it. A commercial short sale, which may involve you getting in contact with the owner before the bank forecloses, could be a great option for you. And a lot of time on short sales, the banks will give the owners a little bit of money, more so on residential than on commercial. But even on commercial, I've seen it to where banks have said to the property owner, hey, look, you do the short sale, we'll give you 10, 20 grand of walk-in money. Most of them don't do it, but sometimes they do. So the borrower has something to get out of doing a short sale. It doesn't, they don't get a foreclosure on their record. It's a short sale on their record, but it doesn't hit the same on their credit as a foreclosure would. And it allows them just to be a little bit more in control of the situation. And let's say if that short sale is on their credit, they can explain, hey, we handled this deal in a responsible way. We didn't just throw our hands up and back out of it. We went through the process, which was an arduous, difficult process, to be honorable in our losing of our properties, right? And they probably had commercial loans, so it wasn't 100% down. They had to put some money back. So if the bank took it short, that means borrower lost their money. But it was a more responsible way of dealing with it, right? And then when that person is trying to build their credit back and get off their feet, that's just going to look a lot better to lenders down the line. So the key is, you guys, finding the properties that are in distress, the owners that are in distress, the situations and circumstances that are in distress. Now, there's a couple of resources I'll give you. I use propertyradar.com, which formerly used to be foreclosureradar.com. That's what we use to track the defaults. There's other ones out there. I just think that Property Radar is the best one out there, and they are now nationwide. It used to just be California and the Western states, but now they are nationwide. So that's a great resource for you to be able to stay on top of which properties are in default, which properties are going to trustee sale, which properties have been foreclosed upon at the trustee sale. I mean, talk about opportunity. The opportunity is buy at the trustee sale. You got to have cash, cashier's check to be able to buy at the trustee sale. Do your homework before it. But there's some great deals that can happen at the trustee sale, right? Another way to make money during this time. So Property Radar is a great resource, and also old school tactic, but just driving around and getting familiar with your territory. So everybody, if you're an investor or an agent, if you're a professional, you have a farm territory or a specific area that you're working, right? And what you ought to be doing is on a regular basis, just driving that area, looking for signs of distress. Maybe there's a retail space where it was full and now you see it's half empty, or maybe it's an apartment building with a Home Depot for rent sign in that window somewhere, or whatever. You're looking for signs, and maybe it's a property where the weeds have outgrown the window and it looks like it's vacant. I did a 31 unit deal back in 2011 because I was used to drive by the property, it was totally boarded up. And on Foreclosure Radar, in the system that we track foreclosures, it showed on the system as a 10,000 square foot lot. And in reality, it was a 31 unit condominium complex that was about 60 to 70% complete. So when you look it up though, it looks like a 10,000 square foot lot. So not many people wanted to buy a 10,000 square foot commercial lot at that point in time. However, because I was familiar with the area. I drove by the property, on a regular basis. I looked it up. It was boarded up, so I knew something was going on, right? I looked it up, figured it out, start tracking the deal. We made it happen. It was a $4 million deal, worked out. Just saying that you got to be the whole thing to opportunities and distresses. You got to go after it. All right. By the time something hits the market, everybody else is going to be looking at it. The key to real value in this space is going after the deals, going after them, going after the people. And like I've said before, you doing it in a responsible way, right? So like we at my company, we've got a whole list of scripts that we designed on how to talk to people in this situation. It's important to me that my agents are representatives of, our value system of, bringing value to the client. So not just trying to slam a deal or get them to do a deal. So, and how you communicate to these folks, very important. Whether you're door knocking, whether you're cold calling, whether you're sending mailers, whether you're doing ads and they respond to them, and having your conversation down when they call you back, because you're dealing with people who are in stress and distress. And we all like to think in commercial that this is not an emotionless business. There's not that much emotion. That's why we're in commercial. It's all numbers. Here's the deal. It's still people. And when people are looking at loss, there's going to be emotions. There's going to be stress. So it becomes tough. So you got to understand how to deal with that and have your talking points down when you're dealing with these folks, and being like a resource to them, being that trusted advisor. And if you're an investor and you just buy and not advising, you're not representing them, you're a positive problem solver, right? You're solving a problem. If you solve their problem, it can make you a lot of money, right? Very, very important. I want you guys to kind of take that with a grain of salt. As we're talking through this, we're getting ready to get to our giveaway. I'll just be interested if anybody has some feedback or any thoughts on this stuff as we're talking. We'd like to make this interactive, because there's a lot of, there's a lot of angst about this. And in commercial, in the marketplace, in the community, a lot of people not talking about it. A lot of people not, because I think people see the stock market's doing great, residential properties doing, great, property values going up, economy starting to open back up, even in the Bay Area, right? So I think a lot of people are not really talking about or aware of what's up in commercial. And that's why I wanted to address it today in this first live, and be interested in get your feedback and thoughts as to, what you guys think might be happening, or what you guys think might, occur as we transition down this road. And again, I don't think we're going to be like in 2008. I think it's different than that, right? What's also, this is another thing that's different. In that market cycle, residential properties start going down first before commercial estate. So in spring 2007, a lot of residential banks went under. There was a whole list of banks that went out of business, like almost immediately. I think it was like March 2007. And you started to see a slowdown in residential. You started to see an uptick in foreclosures, but commercial real estate was still rolling. Stock market was still rolling. And so it was like, yeah, these banks over here made some bad moves. Not that big of a deal. Some foreclosures that'll wash itself through. But then in 08, the whole AIG and Bear Stearns and the commercial real estate and stock market dropped 700 something points in one day, which was a big drop back in those days. And then commercial real estate stopped, and then we had this free fall. It was residential that went down first. So now it's kind of the opposite. It's kind of like residential still rolling, commercial's having some challenges. Now it also depends on where you are. The shutdown has affected the Bay Area maybe more so than like Houston, Texas, or Dallas, Texas, or Atlanta, Georgia, or Miami, or bigger cities in the South where it was shut down, but it wasn't really shut down, right? And I think like in the case of Texas, I mean, I don't know. talked to a lot of people in Texas, never really shut all the way down. So they made some adjustments to what was going on, masks and stuff like that, but it never really shut down. Like out here in the Bay, it was shut down. I mean, you could only go to the grocery store and a couple other places for quite some time. So, you know, a little bit different. And if you got some thoughts, you got some comments, feel free to post them. Now, we only have a few people here. We're getting ready to do this giveaway. I got a few questions. I was going to ask 3 questions. Okay. In lieu of not having a whole bunch of folk on here, I'm just going to ask 1 question. And if I get an answer to this 1 question, whoever answers that, and now we got to make sure you verify you're a subscriber. We got this $100 Amazon gift card. We will get to you. It's going to be an electronic gift card. I need to get your phone number and email address, and we'll get that to you in the next 24 hours. So I want to ask you guys a question now. It's about capitalization rate. First question, if someone can answer this, you got it. And if not, then I'll kind of twist the question up a little bit. Capitalization rate. Who can tell me, and you can chat it in, what the formula to calculate the capitalization rate is? So, now you can also, you know, Google it if you want. But, you know, it's kind of the first person. The formula, so it's a math formula, okay? Based on the numbers. What is the formula to calculate cap rate? And if you got the spirit of the formula, we're gonna work with you, right? You don't have to have it exactly the way it is, but the formula of the cap rate. And this is one of the foundational value measures for commercial real estate. Now, and I say cap rates, capitalization rate. It really measures the net operating income. Okay, little hint. D.W. Chalmers. Okay, well, we got a couple of them. We got Blapstar Jr. and D.W. Chalmers at the same time. Okay, so I'm gonna read it out to you. Okay, first start with D.W. Chalmers. Gross rents times 1 or 2. So D.W., that's not the right answer because, okay, the cap rate has to do with the net operating income. Okay, Blapstar Jr. NOI divided by purchase price equals the cap rate. Blapstar Jr., you are the winner. All right. Blapstar Jr., you got it. It's NOI. Now, what that means, net operating income. Okay. Thank you, DW, for throwing out an answer. Okay. And I think this is real important. The cap rate deals with the net. The GRM, the gross rent multiplier, deals with the gross rent. And the gross rent multiplier is a great way of looking at value on the surface. But the reason I believe that cap rate is more important is because it operates and it deals with the net operating income. And that's important because it factors in the operating expenses, the cost of doing business, right? So that is why cap rate, I believe, is a much more important measure of it. And so, DW, thanks for the thumbs up, man. And thank you guys for participating. Now, Blapstar, I need to get your email address. If you want to, I need to get your email address, phone number, if you don't mind providing that in the chat. If we got your $100 Amazon card that you will get within 24 hours. I really appreciate that. And, you know, I appreciate you guys hopping on this first live. This is the first one. So look, guys, hoping to do this a lot more. Now, are going to be doing one of our traditional seminars or webinars now on YouTube Live. Let me check the date here, and I'll let y'all know when the next one's going to be. All right, and I have been looking forward to doing this for quite some time, man. So I'm really blessed and honored by you guys hopping on here. I know it's only a few of us on here, but I know it's some good nuggets, man. And I hope that this was helpful. Look, I know it's helpful. If you take some of this stuff, you can make some money with it. You can definitely make some money with it. Okay, all right. Oh, Blapstar, I got you. Raymond Ali. Okay. Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry about that. I got you. Thank you so much for providing your information, and I hope that is helpful. I hope this content was helpful. And I hope you guys can solve some problems out there for people. It's just the beginning. Like I don't think it's like 2008, but it's 2021, and we know it's going to be some deals out there. Especially here in the Bay Area. And if I've been here for a while, and a lot of people have been saying, "Oh, I can't buy, I can't buy, I can't buy." I always tell people, look, real estate it doesn't always go up. It's a cycle. It goes up, it goes down, it goes sideways. So you want to, timing is important, right? Timing is very, very important. Now, Blapstar, I got you. Real estate. Okay, I got your email. I'm gonna reach out. We got that for you. Now, there's someone else on this live who I want to honor. Blue Star Animation Studios. That is my young cousin, he is, I want to say Zachariah now is 10 years old, and he has his own YouTube channel, Blue Animation Studios. He is a tech genius, and he was our 1,000th subscriber. So we got an Apple Pen for you, Mr. Zachariah, that I'll be shooting out to you as our 1,000th sub. And he don't just, he watches our video. He is 10 years old. His mom is in the real estate business. His mom also is my cousin and have grown up in East Oakland. I'm very, very proud of her, but her son, Zachariah, Blue Animation Studios, I should say, is really taking an interest into business. He's really taking an interest into tech. He is a young leader in our community coming up. And so we want to rally around these young folks out there, like Zachariah, who is tapped in and made his own YouTube channel. And he's watching these videos that I put out. So he's going to, by the time he gets to be in high school, he's going to be an expert in business, in tech, commercial real estate, residential real estate. So his options are open. And we need more young folk like you, Zachariah, Blue Animation Studios. So thank you very much for being the 1,000 sub. Thank you, DW. Am I saying it right? Is it and Blaps DW? Thank you, bro. Much appreciated. Blapstar, thank you. We got that Amazon for you. Oh, and I'm gonna tell you guys when the next one's gonna be. So the next one we're going to be doing, let's say, I believe, March 10th. So 2 weeks from now, March 10th. Now we're going to do an actual presentation. So what this is us chopping it up, right? I'm going to do an actual presentation on this. Haven't decided what it's going to be on yet. However, it'll probably be either on market timing, real estate market, where we at in the real estate market and timing the market, and or it'll be on, well, I think, you know what? I'm going to do real estate market timing. I'm going to update on market timing. I want to say, we just talked about the distress market. I want to talk about timing the market. So I want to go into details about exactly where we are, what's going on with cap rates, as we talked about that, what's going on with interest rates, what's going on with demand and vacancy, all of that. And I got a presentation where we're going to break that down. And there's a book called Timing the Real Estate Market, written by Craig Hall. I've done this presentation a couple of times and I'll update it. I suggest everyone, if you're interested really in making some serious dough in this business, read that book, Timing the Real Estate Market by Craig Hall. You can get it off Amazon. So the presentation I'm going to do on the 10th will be on that, and we'll bust that down and we'll get into that. So if you want to read that before the 10th, let's do it. And read it, and then I will be talking about where we at in the state of the market, and I'll be talking about some moves to make to put yourself and your family in a position of generating generational wealth. I hope this has been helpful, y'all. I hope this, if it has, please share it with somebody. Tell them about this channel. Tap in with me I want to hear from y'all, like what type of content. Also, we're going to be stepping our game up. Like I said, I'm a real estate guy doing YouTube videos, but I am aspiring to step my YouTube game up. So we're working on like cameras and mics and all of that stuff. my thing is like I'm real authentic with it. I just like turn the computer on, turn the phone on, and start talking to the people. But I am learning that you got to polish it up a little bit if you want to take it there. And I think we do have some. I know we got some valuable content that we want to bring to the marketplace. So we're gonna be stepping it up. But just holla, your boy is authentic and real. So I'm gonna keep that going. But we're gonna step it up as well, man. So I appreciate y'all rocking with us today. Share, like, subscribe, tap in. Let's do some business, man. And remember, if there's one thing you got out of today, man, be a positive problem solver. And for yourself, for your family, for your community. Do not be an opportunist trying to get over on people. You can make money and build generational wealth by being a positive problem solver. Much love, grace, and peace, y'all. Have a fantastic day.